say, educate your children. That's all. Well, dear friends, really this subject is very important and very vast and very difficult subject. Child education from the Baha'i point of view. That is the difficulty. Otherwise you would say our children are educating, they are going to the school. Poor school teacher. You would say, you would think as a parent, our children, they are educated. They are going to the school from kindergarten to the universities, colleges. They are educated. But you be sure I am aware of that. As a professional pedagogue, I consider myself like that. And I have more than 50 years experience in this field. Sorry to say that, I'm not talking about myself, but I wanted to show you that whatever I say is based on experience and my knowledge about, I should say, all civilized countries too. Scandinavian countries, I know from a long time that they are very civilized people. They have a very high material, of course, civilization. Their schools are very exemplary, and I know all about that. But Baha'i education is different from whatever your children have in the schools. Not you, all over Baha'i world. Go to Africa, go to Australia, go to America, everywhere. Baha'i education is quite different from general education that people receive. And we as Baha'is, we should think about Baha'i education. Well, whatever I knew about this subject, I put in the book. The name is Mothers, Fathers, and Children, Practical Advice to Parents. And I did try to have a quotation from the writings of Baha'u'llah and Abdul Baha the Guardian. As I recall clearly, there is 93 quotations in that book and 73 subjects about Baha'i education, all based on the writings. It's not my imagination or my invention, it's all from the writings. Then we have, fortunately, in the Baha'i world, so many other books. Before my book came in, of course, very beautiful books like, for instance, Brilliant Stars. I don't know, are you familiar with that? Or it was translated in Swedish or not, I don't know. The most beautiful book, Brilliant Stars. Everything from the Baha'i point of view is in that book. Quotations, explanations. Then we have a book, When We Grow Up, for instance, it's a very practical book. And above all, the House of Justice issued a compilation that now we can name that as a Baha'i education. It's less than a book, but more than a pamphlet. Baha'i education, reprinted many times, and you can find everything there. But to be practical a little bit about the child education, I know that how many difficulties Baha'i parents they have all over the world for child child education, Baha'i education. I repeat that again. To explain my thought, as I think you're all aware of that, you all know that, education is quite different from the teachings. If you have professional pedagogues among you here sitting, or school teachers, they could understand better that I mean. What I mean by that, education is far, far from the teachings. Teaching child is not very difficult. Of course, I use this relatively. I say, if you compare teaching with education, it is not so difficult to teach child. For instance, you teach child mathematics, geometry, history, physics, chemistry, go on and go on. They can learn that, they can use their memory and memorize that, and a good teacher can explain to them all the subjects, they would understand that. This is teaching. When you say, I am a physician, it means that you are a doctor. You can cure people. You learn medicine. When you say, I'm an engineer, it's also easy to understand that you learn technology and engineering in the school or in colleges or in universities. You are a good engineer, you can build the buildings, you can do all these things. You are physics, you are astronomer, etc., etc. This is teaching field. But what is education? Education in specific pedagogical terminology, quite different from teaching process. You can be very well taught in your profession, but very poor educated. Some people, they mix these two, and it's wrong. By education, pedagogues mean, psychologists mean, it's very common understanding, it's not a new thing. By education, it means your character, your ideas, your way of thought. How do you think about something? In other words, they say your philosophy. We say our faith. It's quite different. You could be very, very good trained physician or engineer, but you don't believe that alcohol is bad, is damaging. You could be a good physician and cure people and in the same time drink alcohol, because you don't believe that alcohol is not so bad. Because that was part of education, to understand which character is good and which is bad. That's education. That's Abdul Baha'i in one of his talks says. You can be very high scientist. You can be very knowledgeable man in many fields, in teaching fields, but very bad educated person. By bad educated, it means you have bad characters, you have bad ideas, you believe in some things that is not good, you believe in other things that is very bad. You don't believe in good things, you don't believe in bad things. You cannot realize which is bad, which is good. That's education. Now we Baha'is, as a new society, a new religion, 144 is not so old. By the way, I remind you that Christianity, for instance, came to your country very late. Very late. You know, I have here the exact dates, but I would not take your time to say. Just I say 300 after Christ, Christianity went to Roman Empire. Constantine the Great accepted Christianity. 400 years after Christ, Christianity went to Spain. 600, 700 years after Christ, Christianity came to this part of the world that you are living now. 900 years after Christ, Christianity went to Russia. 1,000 years after Christ, Christianity went to Norway. 1,000 years. And to Denmark, 1,200 years after Christ. Could you imagine that? But some people, ordinary people, they think, I discussed with some people, they think that the moment Jesus Christ declared his faith, said, I am Messiah, the whole world said, yes, sir, you are Messiah. Immediately accepted. 1,200 years takes time that Christianity came to Denmark, to Norway. And I was talking to one man Baha'i Norwegian. I said, why you accepted Christianity so late, after 1,200 years? His answer was, of course, jokingly, he said, in that time also we never accepted Christianity. The Swedish people by force brought Christianity to us. It came from Sweden. They import that Christianity to us. It was export, they think. That is the situation. We must go back to the history and we understand so many things. I said the Baha'i community is very young. 144 years from the declaration of the Baha'i, now we have Baha'i faith here. We have so many Baha'is from Norway, from Sweden, from Denmark, some from Finland I saw, Scandinavian country. They are Baha'is. They accepted Baha'u'llah as the messenger of God for our age. Only 144 years. Fortunately, you were not waiting for 1,200 years that Baha'i faith would come to you. Why I say that? I say this is very young community. It is very young religion. 100 years, only 100. And how? Not 100 such a beautiful years that everything was quite good. 100 years by exile, by imprisonment, by martyrdom, that still the Baha'u'llah's followers, they are giving their bloods, their lives for humanity. That is when we say Baha'i education. I am sure that for many people it's very new. Education, they would say, is education. What difference between Baha'i education or education? But no, it's such a great difference between these two. Baha'i education and general education is, you cannot compare these two. You cannot join these two together. And you are Baha'i parents sitting here, then you should know Baha'i education. Why I say that? Because in Tehran, for instance, in Iran, I was talking about child education in many, many Baha'i communities and in many Baha'i meetings. Well, it was my profession. They would ask me, please talk about Baha'i education. The mothers believed, most of them, that they have this. Children all go to the schools. They know 2 times 2 is 4. They study mathematics. I said, how is your child? Said, it's very, very well doing in the school. Insha'Allah, as we say, God willing, he will be a good doctor. He will be a good engineer. He will be good. I said, do you think he will be a good Baha'i too? Well, of course, he is a Baha'i. I said, well, he is a Baha'i, I know, but he was educated in the Baha'i way. She or he, they couldn't answer me. What is the Baha'i way? Sometimes the Baha'i way seems to you very strange. Very strange. Abdul Baha says here, a quotation from the master. You know, so many tablets revealed about child education from Baha'u'llah and Abdul Baha, because this is the most radical subject, the most important subject. If we would not follow Baha'i education, then we will lose our children. We will lose our second generation, just like that. That is, we must be very concerned about. Now, for instance, Abdul Baha says, it's my rough translation from Persian. اطفال هر صبح توجه به ملکوت نموده به ذکر حق مشغوله و در نهایت ملاحت و حلاوت مناجات کنه. These exact words of Abdul Baha from his tablets. It means, children, every morning, children, atfal, children, not grown up, children. Every morning, they should turn their face to the Abha kingdom and recite the words of God and recite prayers. Every morning. Well, when you say every morning my child has his breakfast, and we are very careful that my child should have a good breakfast, healthy breakfast, milk, good butter, good bread, so on and so forth. But what about, I'm asking Baha'i parents, what about their spiritual breakfast? They have a soul and a physique. Their physique needs material thing, of course, no doubt. You look after them as much as possible for you. God bless you. What about their soul? Prayer, turning to God, to understand that they are Baha'i child. They are different from others. If other child smoking, for instance, Baha'i child must not do. If other child using alcohol, Baha'i child must not do. If the Baha'i child has prayers and the others they don't, he should not be very surprised. نمیاد صدا؟ میاد؟ من بعد ایستادم؟ Many things look strange for others. Why? Because we are new. Because we have new system. They have system of education, so many names that they have. This kind of education, that kind of education, I'm familiar with all this, you know. For instance, you ask me everybody, your child, yeah, she or he is going to kindergarten and study system of Montessori. That's all. But what about the Baha'i education? What about the Baha'i system of education? Unfortunately, we have very few people that they understand deeply and very strongly about this matter. Sometimes even they say, well, child doesn't have time in the morning, they're rushing to go to the school for prayer, like that. If they have time for breakfast, if they have time to sit at the table and drink and eat and do and this and that, they should have 5 minutes also for prayer, because they should understand from their childhood that there is God. They are Baha'is. Baha'u'llah. They should polish their soul. They should feed their soul. Like this flower without water doesn't work. Flower is very beautiful, but need water. If not the water, it will be dry. And so many other things like that. That is, I wanted to say that Baha'i education is quite different from general education. But I know, I am aware, I understand your difficulties, that environment, your children's environment, as we say in pedagogy, because we say we have 3 factors: family life, school, and environment. Your children's environment or atmosphere is out of your power. It's quite sometimes contrary to our way of education. You cannot control their school, their ideas, or whatever they do, whatever they say. But still we have a responsibility. We must not say, well, what shall I do? What shall I do because our environment is not helping us. We cannot say that. This is last day of me. I bring up whatever is in my heart to you. You must forgive. We have responsibility before God for our children. We don't have right to lose them and say, all right, let them lose it. But they don't go to the school. Let them do. It's not in my power. What shall I do? Many parents are coming to me and asking, what shall I do with my children? But then in the school they say this, they say that, they say they show this, they show. I say, well, I cannot change your environment. I cannot change your atmosphere. I cannot change the ideas of people. I cannot change the whole structure of education in this world. Not in your country only. I was in 43 countries all over the world, in 5 continents. And I went to the schools, I went to universities, I discussed with teachers, because it's my profession, I wanted to know more and more. Some of professors told me, we don't know what to do with our teenagers, with our youth. Just we don't know what to do. It's out of our power. Professors said, directors said, managers said. The moment they understood that I am pedagogue also, they opened their hearts and said, my dear, really we don't know what to do. Because it's like a river running and taking, let's say, the leaves. Take, we cannot stop. That is, I know your position is very different. Not you, everybody, all Baha'is, all over the world. There is only one solution, only one. Of these three factors, family, school, environment. I try to be logical and practical. Schools are not in our position. You cannot change, you cannot do anything. Because your child is going to that school and they know what to do. Our environment, as we call in pedagogy, environment, atmosphere, it means, by environment, you know what we mean? People who are talking to your children, television that they are watching, radio they are listening, newspapers they are reading, the books that they are giving to the children. This means environment, the atmosphere, taking them in, is out of our power also, sometimes. We cannot change the whole. We can prevent some of them. But family, factor of family, because three factors in pedagogy. Family factor, as we call it, is still, fortunately, in our position. We can organize our Baha'i family in such a way to help our children a little bit about Baha'i education. That is in our power. If Baha'u'llah would ask us, did you use that or not? Our answer should be positive. Yes, my Lord, I did. Family organization, it is in our hand, thanks God, yet. And we can organize that in such way for the benefit of our children. We can do that. It's not out of our power of our hands. How? This is our slogan in pedagogy. Slogan, formula. Whatever you want for your child to do, do yourself. If you want that your child say a prayer, you do the same. Say your obligatory prayers every day that child would sing. Parents, they do that. Recite prayers, recite the words of God. This is Baha'u'llah's command. In the book of Aqdas, recite the verse of God every morning and evening. Every morning and evening. Whosoever didn't do this is not loyal to the covenant. So clear. Recite the words of God, you, me, every morning and evening. If not, he says you are not loyal to the covenant. You are not loyal to the covenant. Such a punishment. You want for your child to say prayer, do yourself. It is not practical to say, my dear child, say your prayer. He or she would say in her or his heart, what about you? If you don't want that your child would smoke, don't smoke. It's not forbidden in the faith, of course, I know that it's not, but Abdul Baha said, please, don't do that. Let her know. If you wanted your child not to backbite, don't backbite when your child are there or at all. If you want for your child not to be hypocrites, don't be hypocrite. Well, so many examples I could bring. In other words, whatever, this is a good slogan in pedagogy, whatever you want for your children to do, do yourself. Show good example. There is no any other way now for us. Your child is coming back from school. Talk to him or to her. Be friend with them, especially fathers, because fathers believe, many fathers, not all, I cannot generalize, that mother is responsible. Mother should do everything. It's true, mother is more responsible, but what about father? Especially when it is boy. You must sit down friendly at home. You must spend time. You must talk to them. You must bring to them the history of the faith, or some examples from Abdul Baha, from Baha'u'llah. It's according to the age of children, of course. You can understand different ways. Be friendly with them. Talk to them. Be close to them. That they would understand they have a good family. Otherwise, they would go out and choose very bad friends. These kind of things in our family could be done. And we are responsible for that. For whatever is out of our power, God would not make us responsible. Because our simple answer is, my Lord, simply I couldn't. And it's clear. But whatever we can do, and we neglect, that is our responsibility. I don't know Scandinavian Baha'is, I don't know your families, but I am aware with some other parts of the world that parents would not spend sufficient time with their children. Children are separate and they are separate. They should be mixed with each other and understand the mentality of child, answer their questions. Abdul Baha says, father and mother, they must be in the same time the friend of children. Friend. Not just, I'm your father, I'm dictator, I'm your mother, I dictate you. No. Be friend. Now, I'm coming to the end. I would not take much of your time because so many things to say about child education cannot be in one session. But you know, you are aware, you read so many books, as I mentioned. There are so many books, and you have in your languages, different languages, very good books about child education. My point was just to bring to your mind that family factor is now the only factor that we possess. And we must use that. Otherwise, we will lose. We will lose our children. I say that from my experience. It's not imagination. If we would not use our family in such way to bring our children closer to us, closer to the teachings, then we will lose them. Now my advice, sorry to say my advice, is professional advice. Like you are going to the doctor and doctor said, I give your advice for your health. My advice, when I say my advice, that's my advice, it's pedagogical advice, is advice from specialists. They say mothers and fathers must be most patient with their children. Patience is the best instrument for education of children. If you are nervous, if you are so busy, if you are tired, and you don't have time or sentiments to be close to your child, it's very bad. Child is coming to you asking, leave me alone. Don't you think that I am so busy? What are you talking about? Sometimes you are angry, and God forbid, sometimes you are physically punishing your children, maybe. I am talking generally, not about you. I don't know you. It's very bad. Patience is the best instrument in your life. Be patient. Don't lose your temperament, your nerves. Don't become angry so soon. And the second advice that I am coming to the end is also very important advice. You should know that children, like yourselves, they have also free will. They are not like animals to dress them or just blindly obey. They have free will from their childhood, very, very, very soon. For instance, 6 months old, 5 months old, 1 year old child has free will. God gave him free will, as we have free will. And many times our free will coming to contact with their free will. This is the most difficult time for education. You say, don't do that, say, I want to. Don't go to the, I want to go. Always this capital I is with children. I want to do that. I like that. And your will is becoming in contrast with the will of child. Then it is tragedy. Then this is really a scandal. The advice is, when you are bringing your will to the child, you should understand first, are you right? Are you doing well? Is it really a good way to do? I want, as your mother, to say, but you should think over. Is it true, Mom? Do you have this right? If you are sure 100% that you are right, then with patience, with understanding, mother knows what to do. With kindness, explain to the child that it is not good for you. If we will follow these two, patience and understand that they have free will too, then our position will be better. Well, that's all. So many things could be said about child education, hours and hours. And you are familiar with many things. My point today was only to take your attention to the family life and say, in families you live Baha'i life. Then your children will have a good example. That's all. Now I tell you They're very, don't be impatient. 15 minutes. Now this is 12 o'clock. You are chairperson, you can do everything, you are my boss. Especially last time. Now, there is a short story. One man was in debt to another man, his friend. Lot of money. The day came, just tomorrow, this man should pay money to his friend. Otherwise, he will go to jail. Last time, and he didn't have a penny. Wife saw during the night he is going back and forth, he's not going to bed. He said, what is going on? Why you are doing this? Go to bed. He said, don't you know that tomorrow I shall pay this much money and I don't have a penny? She said, yes, I know, but what use of that you are going back and forth and not going to bed? He said, I can't simply, I cannot sleep. She said, I have a solution. She opened the window to the neighbor because they were very close and called, Mr. X, Mr. X, Mr. X, in the midnight. And the man awakened and came and said, what happened? I said, my husband should pay money to you tomorrow. He said, yes. Be sure that he doesn't have one penny. And closed the window and told to husband, now let him not to sleep. I said whatever was in my heart, I go now sleep very well. Now it's your